Hello, everyone. I'm Gray Robinson, and this is Lawyer Lifeline. Now, I coach lawyers how to avoid stress, anxiety, and burnout. And this is the series I'm doing on burnout, which is that wall that lawyers tend to hit if they don't take care of themselves. And what we talked about in the last video was what the nature of burnout is and a couple of tips on what to do to avoid it. And this is the second part of that series, and I'd like to continue on giving you suggestions on how to avoid burnout. This may seem obvious, but a lot of attorneys don't seem to do it, and that's take a vacation. I'm talking about a real vacation. I'm talking about a week-long or 10-day vacations. Get yourself out of the office, away from your computer, away from the files, away from your secretary, and let your brain relax. Get out of this stressful environment, get away from your clients, and rediscover what life is all about. There is a life outside of the practice of law, and you have to do it for therapeutic reasons. And if you need an excuse to go into your partners and say you need a vacation, you can quote me by saying there's more to life than law. And that's because if you don't, you will burn out. So go take a great holiday, get out of your town, do something fun, reset your clock, reset your brain, reset your body, go have a good time. And then you can go back to the stress and strain and feel refreshed. Did you know that Mother Teresa made the nuns in her orphanage take a 1-year sabbatical every 4 to 5 years? And that's because she recognized the fact that these women who were sitting there dealing with these tragic orphans oftentimes needed a break in order to get away from the horror and the stress and the anxiety that they were facing on a daily basis. So if it was good enough for Mother Teresa, it's good enough for you. The next thing I'd like to recommend is that you get into some sort of routine. And I don't mean working 24 hours a day. I'm talking about eating your meals at roughly the same time every day, going to bed roughly the same time every day, and getting up roughly the same time every day. Now, I know that there are deadlines and there are trials and tribulations of a law practice that can make that difficult, but as a rule, we do better when we're in a routine. Our bodies adjust better. We digest better when we're eating at the same time every day. I had a senior partner who was about 70 years old when I started practicing law back in the 70s. And he would have the same thing for lunch every day at exactly the same time every day. And I always wondered why it was that he would do this. And then after 16 years of research, I found out that we digest better if our body knows when to eat and what to digest. So just remember that when you're trying to decide what to have for lunch or dinner. Do your body a favor and help it ward off all these stressful symptoms. And that also means going to bed and getting a good night's sleep every day. Even if you have periods of time when like I said, you have deadlines and you have to stay up late, at least for the most part, go to bed at the same time. You'll sleep better, you'll have REM sleep, and you will be able to wake up refreshed. The next thing I'd like to recommend is that you get a hobby, whether it's a sport, an athletic activity, certain kinds of exercise, but do something on a regular basis that takes you out of this stress that you feel in the legal world. Whether it's collecting or reading, becoming an expert on something like history, or expanding your horizons, expanding your universe. Learn something new that has nothing to do with law. That way, your brain isn't constantly bombarded with the stress and anxiety of trying to help people who may have tragic circumstances, and you can get out of that slippery slope to burnout. And finally, for this segment of the Burnout series, if you're doing something in the practice of law that is constantly stressful, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, maybe you ought to consider another area of practice. If you're a divorce attorney and you are suffering, maybe you should look at real estate. Maybe you should look at corporate law. Maybe you should look at something else. If you're in a large law firm, talk to your partners about taking on another area of responsibility, something that isn't so stressful. And for those 4 different suggestions, I have 4 more in the next video. But you can always go to my website, www.lawyerlifeline.net, and get some great ideas on how to thrive and be successful in your law practice.